The Jade Giant has declared war on all those who claim to be too big to fail, but is this biting off more than he can chew? Well, let's hop on into the pages of Immortal Hulk issue number 27 and find out. Well, now isn't this an interesting setup for a story? Basically, we have three parallel storylines all going on at once, which end up crossing over at the very end. First up, you got the Roxxon War Room led by Dario Agger, aka the Minotaur, talking what is to be done about this Hulk problem as he clucks his beard and drinks his espresso. Then over with the Hulk and Dr. McGowan, they're working on trying to get their teleportation tech up and running so they can strike at Roxxon where they least expect it. And I mean, really, when you're working with teleportation tech, you better get it right the first time, lest you're gonna have some horrifying fly-like situations. Then you got the third and final story, a group of Roxxon's elite berserker troopers, basically they're rent-a-mercs who they shot up with dragon blood that you may remember in the pages of the Thor book. Why, in this issue too, we're actually introduced to a new character. His name is Higgins, and he's an elderly member of the Roxxon board, yet unlike all the other Roxxon people we've met, this guy isn't totally heartless. It seems that everything the Hulk has been saying about the end of the world, global warming, killing everyone, and this being the only way to stop it has actually got him rethinking a lot of the strategies that made him such a successful businessman. He's actually worried what his unchecked corporate greed could do to the planet that his grandchildren are going to have to live in long after he's gone. But don't worry, the Minotaur is there to set him straight. And by set him straight, I of course mean tell him the horrifying truth that no one outside that room knows. Mainly, hey, you know when climate scientists said we've maybe got 10 to 12 livable years left on the surface world before we all gotta live underground like moles? Yeah, well, Roxxon actually came out with that study. Yeah, it's actually half that, maybe more. Not that Dario's worried, he's rich after all, and that business with the Dark Elves means that he has another realm he can run off to if things get too hot, literally. But wait, we can walk it back, right? I mean, we're rich, we have all this advanced technology and science. Yeah, how about that? Turns out when Dario actually started climbing the ladder at Roxxon, they were indeed looking into new renewable fuel sources. But then Dario became president and figured, that's just not economically feasible right now. Renewable energy means people aren't gonna have to pay you for it, so I'd rather shift the company's focus into making weapons. The food riots of the future once we can't grow crops anymore. That's gonna be a real windfall for us here at Roxxon. And Dario continues to say that, believe it or not, it's not the weapons and everything else that's Roxxon's greatest export. No, what he's really proud of the company in accomplishing is their narrative machine. All those wonderful apps like Rocks and Rock's Book, where people willingly surrender their own personal data that Roxxon uses to better figure out what to sell to them while also figuring out how best to lie to them as well. It was using this narrative machine that Dario Agger was basically able to get off scot-free for betraying Earth to the Dark Elves during the War of Realms. The Devil Hulk fully realizes this though, and that's why the data farm, the server cache where Roxxon runs its propaganda machine from, that's the Hulk's next target. It's also the place where Roxxon has put out some of their strongest berserker troopers, but even they prove to be no match for an angered Devil Hulk on a mission. The Hulk does what he does best and smashes everything in sight, meaning that a bunch of people's favorite sites are now officially offline. You know what, if I lost my YouTube job because of the Hulk, that's much more acceptable than Kappa. This ends up being a huge victory for the Devil Hulk, although we as the reader are reminded that he is still not without his Achilles heel, in this case being the daylight. But now that Banner has himself a governmental black budget and pretty much an entire army of scientists, maybe now is the time to get to work on fixing this little flaw as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Immortal Hulk issue number 27, everybody, and once again, Al Ewing really makes magic happen with this series. The Hulk at his heart has always been about anger and smashing and destruction, but here Ewing adds the idea about real, actual, honest, righteous fury. Yeah, sometimes getting mad is bad and smashing things doesn't always make things better, but what if you could actually point something like the Hulk in a truly positive direction? Ewing rings some great material too of having Roxxon and Dario Agger be Hulk's new nemesis du jour. It makes a lot of sense. He's got a monster inside him too and a whole army of henchmen who also basically Hulk out. Overall, I'd give this one another very solid 8 out of 10. We're reaching the end of 2019 and there's no doubt in my mind that Immortal Hulk was one of the best books of the year.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cave Jewel, and if you're seeing me right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, which I am very appreciative of. It really helps drive engagement and retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. So does liking and commenting. Wink, wink. If you like my content too, you should check out my Patreon page. We just redid all the tiers, so there's a ton of great rewards. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and well, it would just really help me out. It's never expected, but always appreciated. So until next time, everyone, I've been Cape Joel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.